Welcome to Market Rasen, one of Lincolnshire's most popular towns. Today we are going to explain about a Grade 2 listed building in Market Rasen situated at 32 King Street. Over a number of months we have researched the history of our building and discovered that it is a late Victorian brick house which was built in 1891 for Dr. George Henry Barton, and at the time was known as the Grange. The Grange is stables which are still in existence today, and the gardens were always very well kept, as Dr. Barton had a great love of gardening, which we still try to maintain today. We also know that the house at the end of the drive was where he held his surgery, so he didn't have very far to travel to his workplace. The exterior of the building has kept most of its original features, but over the years, the interior of the building has seen many substantial changes to accommodate its various occupants. Although there are still some features which are representative of the Victorian era, such as the coloured glass in the windows and the doors, cornicing around the building and the grand fireplace in the building. Dr. George Henry Barton was married to Florence Barton. They had two daughters, Frances and Florence. They also had two sons called Henry and Morris. They also had a couple of servants to help them around the house. The Barton family remained ownership of the building until it was sold in 1950, which shortly after became a children's home, still known as the Grange, owned by the council. It had a number of different managers and staff, but remained a children's home for approximately 40 years. But eventually it was considered too large and expensive to maintain, and therefore was sold. Axiom Housing then took it over in 1995 and converted it into supported accommodation for young people in housing need. However, to put some meat on the bones of my brief outline, I would now like to show you some interviews with various people who still live in Market Rasen and the surrounding areas, and who have recollections of when the building was owned by Dr. Barton, when it became a children's home, and lastly when it was used as supported accommodation for young people. What connection did you have with this building when you was...
Well, I've had two connections. One was approximately 1937. The two main chimneys, and what you term in the building trade is a relieving arch. But it was only there as a feature. But I don't know whether it was the traffic, because I wasn't old enough to understand it all then, but they started to part. Yeah. So we had to scaffold it. Mm-hmm. And those days we only had wooden poles, not like today, with clips, and you had ropes to do that. And we got it all scaffolded from the yard there, over the top, and dismantled it, and not rebuilt the chimneys, but where the arch had been relieved to it there. Mm-hmm. And cart it all down in a, what they call I don't know, sometimes we called it a fish basket. Yeah. And a ginny wheel, from the bottom. Yeah, yeah. So that was the first time, but it took a good long while those days, because there was nothing handy, you see. Yeah. And then in 1951, I've been through the war then. I did serve 5 years, and the firm I worked for was Scoffham and Sons, which was the main builders for a long, long while, and it was turned from a home into a children's home. Mm-hmm. And the first person that was in charge was a Mr. Wickham.
Did you know this Mr. Wickham?
Wickham, yes. He was a school teacher. Yeah. And what we had to do was make more bathrooms, more toilets, and separate some rooms.
So the general layout of the building Has it changed a lot since you since your first connection till now? Do you
Well,
think it's changed a lot?
all that at the rear,
Yeah.
that is new, comparatively new.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was there until we came round with the heritage and looked round these there. But all the back, whatever it is there, it is new, to me anyway.
Can you explain the outside? What did the outside used to be like when...
What did the outside?
Yeah.
Well, to me, it hasn't changed. It's changed very, very little.
Yeah.
Everything's very little, you see. I mean, there are, as I've said, there are probably extra windows, which are, I suppose they're toilets and showers or whatever they are now, you see.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the buildings down the yard, which was the saddlery, because that was where some of the ponies was kept. I can't see where any, you know, there's nothing changed much.
Anyway, thank you very much for your time and thank you for answering my questions. Much appreciated.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Betty. In 1947, what was your connection with the Grange, currently known as the Foyer?
1947. Well, I worked across the road in a grocer's shop, and I used to deliver groceries here each week to the people who owned it, which was the Bartons.
Did you know the Bartons very well?
No, only the one that was living here at the time, and I think her name was Miss Elsie Barton.
So what was she like?
Well, from what I saw of her, she was very nice, polite, and didn't always see her because she had a servant who was very often around, you see, so it was her I saw. But I did on occasion see Miss Elsie Barton.
Did you know the servant's name? Did you
Yes, it was a Miss Ada Green.
Yeah. Did you get along with?
Oh yes,
yeah.
she was very nice, yes, and always liked to have a few words with me, you know.
Yeah. Did you know a Tom Sellers?
Yes, I did, yes.
He was the gardener, wasn't he?
He was, very nice.
Did you speak to him?
Oh, very
often?
often. He used to come in each day for his 11s.
And work in the garden?
And work in the garden.
Were the gardens very well kept?
Oh, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Very.
What were they like, roughly?
Well, there was a lawn outside at the back here.
Yeah.
And herbaceous borders
Yeah.
going round it, and then on to the left there was another lawn which he used to call the croquet lawn, and it's where we used to hang the washing, so you know, we were in and out there quite a lot. And then further on was it was a gravel drive all the way round for walking, and herbaceous borders, and then there was the fruit gardens and so forth, you know, as you walk round.
I understood he worked for St John's Ambulance. Can you tell us a bit more about him? What type of person he was?
Oh, he was a very nice and kind gentleman. He was a gentleman, and yes, he did. He enjoyed his work for the St John's, and he said that you know, when he was asked if he would like to keep on his job here when it became a children's home, he said he would like to do so, but only on the understanding that he could carry on with his St John duties.
So when you used to deliver groceries, did you ever deliver groceries to the buildings across the way from the foyer? Or the Grange was what it was called?
No, because there were families. This first one here, that was the surgery at the time.
Yeah.
But the rest of them in the row there, I think there was 3, and they were private dwellings.
Yeah. Did you know any of the people in them buildings, the surgery or?
Well, I mean, there was 3 doctors that were working the practice.
Yeah.
And there was one that used to live in the property next door
Oh yeah.
to the Grange. And then that was Dr. Sheepdog.
Yeah.
And then there was Dr. Torrens, and he lived in a property round by the school in Kilnwell Road,
Yeah.
that is now the children's kindergarten.
Yeah.
And then there was also a Dr. Scott.
So what was the current layout of this building? What did you ever take a tour of this building when you delivered the groceries, or?
I used to come across from the shop, come round to the back door,
Yeah.
and knock.
Yeah.
And if there was no reply, it was always the procedure to come in
Yeah.
and just leave the goods, you know.
Yeah.
But because there'd be somebody in, but probably at the top of the house.
Yeah. In 1950s, I understood Lincolnshire County Council overtook this place and turned it into a children's home.
Yes, yeah.
Did you carry on working here as a?
Oh, that's when I came to work here myself.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
In 1950.
Yes.
So what was it like then? Was it?
Well, it was more or less the same as what the outlay was the same, but obviously they had to make alterations to accommodate the children, you see, because there was boys and girls mixed.
Yeah. I understood Mavis and Horace Wickham took over this place.
Yes, they were the foster mother and father.
What type of people were they? Were they?
Well, they were a young couple.
Young couple.
Young couple, very nice couple.
Yeah. Did you get on very well with these people?
Yes, yes, they were. Yes.
They were alright. So how many children, roughly, did this place hold? Do you know?
Well, we brought 19 from the council.
Yeah.
And then the Wickhams had 2.
Yeah.
So that was 21.
And
So
roughly,
we had,
what age range were these people?
well,
These
the
children?
youngest was at one point was 3,
Yeah.
and then the eldest one was 16.
Yeah. I believe you became a resident house mother at the age of 18.
Yes, I did.
For 18 months. What? Did you enjoy your job then? Or?
Oh, I did. I loved it.
Very
yes.
rewarding.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
So did you get on with the children very well?
Oh, yes, yes.
Did you have any favourites or?
Well, it's difficult because you haven't got to get too attached.
Yeah, because they move out very soon.
Well, that's right, yes.
Yeah.
And you can't show favouritism.
When it took over by Mavis and Horace Wickham,
Yeah.
did this place change very much in layout? Because I understood the top landing was altered a little bit. Can you explain that a little bit? If you can?
For the children arriving, obviously it had to be altered, and but the outlay, there was the big room at the top.
Yeah.
Then there was 2 either side of the landing,
Yeah.
and because one was for me, a bedroom, and then one was for the other girl who came with me,
Yeah.
and that was her bedroom. Then there was an airing cupboard,
Yeah.
and then, if I remember rightly, there was another little room, what we call the apple room.
Yeah.
Picked the apples and they stored them in there. But I think before I left, they had instructions to convert it to another little bedroom,
Yeah.
just to split some of them up, because that big room held quite a lot.
Yeah. Do you know roughly how many?
Well, there would be about 10.
10.
Yeah.
But in them days, was it boys on one landing and girls on the next landing? Or
Yes, yes. Mm.
It was.
There might have been 2 of the very young little boys, but they would, well, one was the Wickham's own little boy, and there was one of the councils about the same age.
Yeah.
So they had a room on the first landing.
Yeah.
There was myself, and the other young girl, well,
Yeah.
she was older than me actually, she's a bit more mature.
Mhm.
But we took it in turns to get up in the morning
Mhm.
and sort the breakfast out and get the children up and down for about 7:30,
Yeah.
and then breakfast at 8,
Yeah.
and then they would have to get ready for school.
Uh-huh.
With probably one or two that was too young to go to school. So, and they went off to school, leaving about 8:45. School
Yeah.
started at 9:00.
In Market Rasen?
Yes.
Yeah. So where was that situated in Market Rasen, the same place as it is today?
No, the junior school was right down the Willingham Road,
Oh yeah.
just before you get to the D'Aston school, but on the left-hand side.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the junior school then, so a fair walk for the little ones.
So after school, what did they do, the children?
Well, whilst they were at school, they stayed at school for their lunch.
Yeah.
So that enabled us to get on with the jobs,
Yeah,
because there's all the washing
better
and
time.
ironing,
obviously.
cooking and whatever.
Yeah.
They came home about 4:00,
Mhm.
and obviously it wasn't quite tea time, so they played or...
Did they have any chores to do? At that
Oh
time?
well,
Cleaning
they
rotors?
did, yeah. But at first, the house parents didn't want them to do things unless they volunteered. But
Yeah.
I think
A
she
bit of
soon
leeway for them.
realised, like we said,
Yeah.
well, you're not going to get any volunteers.
Obviously.
Who's going to volunteer to wash
Exactly.
up? So we then they decided that, well, we'd better have a rota
Yeah.
to give everybody a fair, you know.
So can you explain this for if they did their cleaning, what rewards did they get for their cleaning? Did they get anything, or was it just done your cleaning and that's it?
Well, it was their contribution to, you know, the helping of the running of the, you know.
The place.
Yeah.
And what if they didn't do their cleaning? Did they get in trouble or
Well,
detention or anything?
I mean, they didn't always like it, but they knew that it was their turn, and
Yeah.
you know, there was a road to put up, and if it was their turn, well, that was it.
Yeah. So what time was bedtime for these children? Was
Well,
it
it varied because, as I
the
say,
age
because
ranges?
of their ages. Obviously, the young ones went.
So for the old ones, roughly, what their bedtime?
Well, so long as the last one was in bed about 9:30 to
Yeah.
9:45, you know, for the older ones.
And what about the young ones?
Well, they used to start bathing 6:00 or
In bed for about 7:30 or something.
oh yeah, or 7:00 for the
7
little ones, because there was only 3. Yeah.
So I believe there was assistant house mothers and that. What time were they on duty till?
Well, that was I was one of them.
Yeah.
Well, as I say, we used to take it in turns, get up at 7, get down to sort the breakfast out at 7:30 for 8:00 breakfast, so you had a fairly early start.
So you was on all night.
So you were on all day till 10:00
Yeah.
at night,
Yeah.
but then if there was anything in the night, mind you, they were very good. There wasn't much trouble
No.
at night.
Yeah.
So, we had one day off a week, and before that day off, we could finish at 6:00 the evening before.
Mhm. So I know these kids obviously are parents. Did they ever come to visit, and what was the routine in visiting?
Oh, I think
you have
they were,
rules for
yeah, they did have the parents visiting about once a month,
Yeah.
but some came, some didn't.
Yeah. The children's home got taken over about 10 years later by a couple, I think, Mr. and Mrs. Stamp.
Oh yes, the Wickhams retired, yes, and then Mr and Mrs Stamp they took over.
And did you
it's
come
still
in?
run. No, I wasn't here then.
No.
No.
But did you know this couple?
I knew them because they were local people,
Yeah.
you know.
What do you think of this place right now? I like the feel of Market Rasen and the feel of this place. Has it changed much since 1950?
Well, I mean, Market Rasen itself has.
Yeah.
Yes, it's definitely changed a lot because I was born and brought up here,
Yeah.
so I'm sort of a whole part and parcel of it.
So when did you prefer it, today or in the olden, not the olden days, but when you was born here and raised up here?
Well, I'm one that I suppose I get set in my ways. And I realise that there has to be progress, otherwise we'd be way back, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Well, as you know, I mean, I live at Middle Rasen now, you see, and have done for the last 50 years. So, but I mean, I've shop and.
Yeah, Market Rasen. I understood it used to. I mean, the history of this village or town now is a lot, and it's got a lot of marketing issues in this place. Did you ever have any involvement with the market in the 1960s, 70s? Did you enjoy the market? Or?
Well, I play, and I mean, as a little girl, I used to play there a lot, you know, I mean, in those days you could, this sort of thing. And when we lived in the town, I mean, all the shopping and everything was done in Market Rasen.
Yeah.
So we didn't have the transport and that we do today. I mean, well, the world everywhere's changed
a lot, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you answering my questions. Approximately what date did you start taking a role in the Grange?
1983.
And what was your role?
As a care worker, because it was the Grange Children's Home then.
Did you enjoy your job?
Yes.
Did you have a lot of a say in the building of what happened?
Not really. The social services had more of a say in the building, really, in the structure of the building. Any changes that needed doing, social services did it.
When you started having a role in this building, was it still the same layout as it is today? Of what you've seen, is it the same layout or is it changed?
No, it's changed. It's changed dramatically. You've lost the kitchen because the kitchen used to be past the office down that end, and the